On the 16th of March 2026, an IRGC Navy official, Mohammed Akbarzad, declared that the Strait of Hormuz was under the complete control of Iran. Hours later, President Trump insisted the strait was safe, but the reality on the water suggested a far more dangerous truth. Iran began dropping naval mines into the corridor, a few dozen so far, across 4 miles of usable water. This narrow passage is the vital artery through which 1/5 of the world's crude oil must flow. Alongside these mines, Iran deployed explosive drone boats packed with warheads designed to detonate on impact. As of day 12 of Operation Epic Fury, 13 ships have been hit, 6 crew members are dead, and the U.S. Navy has not successfully escorted a single commercial vessel through the waterway. The Strait of Hormuz is functionally shut down, a development that has been largely obscured in mainstream media reports. The shutdown is near total. Major shipping lines, including Maersk, CMA, CGM, and Hapag-Lloyd, have ceased operations in the area. This was not merely by Iranian decree, but because global insurance companies, including Lloyd's of London, formally withdrew protection and indemnity coverage. Without insurance, ships do not sail, regardless of how many naval vessels are present in the Gulf. Before this conflict, 138 commercial ships transited the strait every 24 hours. That number has plummeted to nearly zero. 15 million barrels of crude and 4.5 million barrels of refined fuels are now stranded daily. With Iraq and Kuwait lacking pipeline alternatives, their oil is trapped, and storage tanks across the Gulf are reaching capacity. Iran achieved this using less than 1% of its available mine stockpile. Iran's maritime threat is sophisticated and layered, utilizing 5 categories of mines. These range from basic $1,500 contact mines like the Sadaf 01 to the Russian-designed MDM-6, a bottom influence mine that triggers on the magnetic or pressure signature of a passing ship. Most lethal is the Chinese-origin EM-52, a rocket-propelled rising mine that rests on the seafloor and fires upward at passing vessels. These weapons are designed to defeat modern mine-sweeping gear. Despite weeks of airstrikes, the Iranian stockpile remains largely intact. The cost-benefit analysis is staggering. A $25,000 mine can disable a $1.8 billion Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. Historically, naval mines have caused 77% of all American warship casualties since 1950. The challenge is compounded by the fact that the United States Navy decommissioned its last 4 dedicated minesweepers in the Persian Gulf in late 2025. The threat evolved further when a kamikaze drone boat struck the oil tanker MV Vam off the coast of Oman. This marked Iran's first verified combat kill using maritime drones, a technology pioneered by their Houthi allies and proven by Ukrainian forces in the Black Sea. These drone boats work in tandem with minefields. Mines force ships into predictable, slow-moving channels, making them easy targets for fast surface drones. While the administration claimed the destruction of 16 mine-laying boats, the strikes targeted only surface assets while Iran's primary strength remained hidden. State media recently broadcasted footage of massive underground tunnel complexes carved into the Iranian coastline. These hardened corridors house fast attack boats, cruise missiles, and mines, shielded hundreds of meters beneath rock where they are immune to satellite surveillance and airstrikes. Simultaneously, the skies over the Middle East revealed a new dimension of Iranian capability. Radar systems and satellite feeds confirmed the launch of a new generation of ballistic missiles, featuring significantly improved range and terminal accuracy. For years, Iran's arsenal was seen as powerful but imprecise. This new demonstration proved that the gap in precision is closing, placing American military infrastructure in Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain, as well as the State of Israel, under direct threat. While Israel possesses advanced missile defense platforms, no system is perfect. A coordinated barrage can saturate defenses, a tactic Iran has integrated into its broader strategic doctrine. This technological leap arrived during a period of maximum regional tension. Iran's axis of resistance, a network including Hezbollah in Lebanon and various factions in Iraq and Syria, is operating at heightened activity levels. On March 12, 2026, Benjamin Netanyahu held a press conference as air raid sirens echoed across central Israel, signaling the 6th missile salvo of the day. Despite projecting strength, Netanyahu admitted that Iran had buried its capabilities so deep underground that they were becoming immune to attack. This was a startling admission that the military campaign has structural limits. On that same day, Hezbollah launched over 200 rockets from Lebanon in a coordinated strike. A tragic hit on a communal shelter in Beit Shemesh killed 9 civilians after interceptors missed and sirens failed to provide a timely warning. This highlighted a vulnerability in the very civil protection model Israel's survival doctrine is built upon. The political goal of regime change also appears increasingly out of reach. Netanyahu stated that the fall of the Iranian government depends on the Iranian people rising up, admitting that military action alone cannot ensure that outcome. This aligns with a classified assessment by the U.S. National Intelligence Council, which concluded that neither airstrikes nor a prolonged campaign would likely result in regime change. The financial and human toll of the conflict is mounting rapidly. The Pentagon confirmed that the first 6 days of operations cost over $11.3 billion, making it the most expensive engagement since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Global energy markets have reacted violently. Brent crude spiked to over $130 per barrel, and American gasoline prices rose 17% in the first 2 weeks. In response, the International Energy Agency announced the largest coordinated release of emergency oil reserves in its history. Iranian strikes have also targeted Gulf state infrastructure, including Qatar's largest liquefied natural gas facilities, causing European gas futures to jump 30%. Beyond the economics, the civilian cost inside Iran is devastating, with reports of thousands killed and hospitals rendered non-functional. As the military conflict raged, a diplomatic crisis erupted at the United Nations. In an unprecedented move, 14 nations, including allies like France, Germany, Japan, and South Korea, walked out during a U.S. presentation on Iran. Shortly thereafter, Iran's foreign minister declared a total rejection of all American terms, signaling that Tehran would not negotiate under the pressure of a blockade. This diplomatic isolation became a market risk factor, as Goldman Sachs released a note on the diplomatic isolation premium, contributing to a massive drop in the Dow Jones. Leaked transcripts revealed a fractured relationship between Washington and its allies. The French president informed Trump that France would withdraw from joint military operations, while the Saudi crown prince noted that he was already in talks with Iran to reopen regional dialogue. A crisis meeting in the White House Situation Room further exposed the internal rift. General Charles Brown, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, reported that the blockade was becoming logistically unsustainable and that Iranian strikes were hitting protected targets with increasing accuracy. While political advisors urged doubling down on pressure, Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned that the diplomatic problem had become a strategic crisis. Allies were no longer taking calls, and the perception of American isolation was encouraging Iran to wait out the conflict. The meeting ended without a clear new strategy, leaving the administration trapped on an escalation ladder with no clear exit. For the average citizen, the personal impact of this March miscalculation is becoming severe. Gas prices are projected to reach $6 per gallon in some markets, and shipping costs have increased by 34% as cargo vessels reroute around Africa. This has triggered a spike in food price inflation and a significant loss in retirement savings as markets react to the instability of American foreign policy. The damage may be permanent as companies restructure supply chains, and European nations seek energy partnerships that do not depend on American security. The UN walkout symbolized the death of the long-standing assumption that American leadership is essential and that allies will always follow. Trump's strategy of maximum shock has resulted in maximum isolation. The introduction of the Fatah-2 hypersonic missile has redefined the rules of engagement. With a flight time of just 4 minutes and 20 seconds from Tehran to Tel Aviv, it arrives nearly 2 minutes before Israel's warning systems can even complete their alert cycle. It glides through the upper atmosphere at Mach 15 and maneuvers laterally to defeat trajectory calculations. This weapon breaks the fundamental premises of modern missile defense. Every layer, from Iron Dome to David's Sling and Arrow 3, was engineered for a threat profile that the Fatah-2 simply bypasses. The vice president of Rafael Advanced Defense Systems admitted that trying to intercept such a missile is like trying to guard a professional athlete one-on-one. You can keep chasing, but you will not stop them from scoring. Amidst this, the U.S. pulled off a feat using its HIMARS launchers that those weapons were not originally designed for. Sinking Iranian ships using ballistic missiles fired from a launcher intended for stationary land targets sent a signal to the world. The Precision Strike Missile, or PRSM, made its combat debut, providing unrivaled deep strike capability. Evidence suggests the U.S. used an anti-ship variant, likely the Increment 2 version featuring an advanced seeker. This allows HIMARS to hit moving targets at sea from hundreds of miles away. America has proven that it has taken the lead in anti-ship ballistic technology, moving past theoretical capabilities to real-world combat success. This creates a massive problem for Iran's fleet. Yet every strike against an Iranian vessel is met with a new Iranian escalation. On March 12, 2026, Iran launched 3 consecutive waves of missile strikes, waves 42, 43, and 44, in under 24 hours. The IRGC deployed Khorramshahr heavy ballistic missiles and Khaybar Shaikan precision missiles. Sirens screamed across Israel as 79 people were injured. These strikes followed reports that Mojtaba Khamenei had been wounded on the first day of the war. Despite his absence from the public eye, the military unleashed its most concentrated barrage yet. This marked a fundamental shift in firing doctrine. Iran moved from saturating defenses with volume to punishing them with mass. They stopped launching anything with a warhead under 1,000 kilograms. By focusing on heavier impact, Iran turned interception into a physics problem that current technology cannot solve. The single most important development remains economic. Iran has effectively shut down the Strait of Hormuz, and 20% of the world's oil supply is now frozen. Tanker traffic has collapsed to near zero, with over 200 commercial ships stranded. The global maritime industry is in a state of shock. Fertilizer and liquefied natural gas, LNG, supply chains are fracturing, threatening global food security for 8 billion people. When LNG supply is disrupted, fertilizer production slows, crop yields then fall, and food prices rise across every continent. The United Nations World Food Program has warned that this disruption is creating an economic emergency of the first order. Brent crude surged past $110 per barrel, with the IRGC promising a spike to $200. This is a tax on the entire global economy, levied without warning. Iran also introduced the Sejil, a solid fuel missile that requires no fueling window, making it nearly impossible to detect before launch. During Wave 54 of Operation True Promise 4, sirens sounded in over 140 locations. Half of Iran's missiles are now cluster munitions, carrying submunitions with a 0% interception rate once released. This strategy shifts the focus from volume to mass, punishing defenses with uninterceptable bomblets. On day 15, 7 waves were launched in a single day. This was not an attempt to inflict maximum damage, but a financial transaction designed to force maximum interceptor expenditure. Iran is buying the depletion of Israel's defense stockpile with missiles that cost a fraction of the interceptors used to stop them. While military analysts focus on missiles, a dormant threat remains in the cyber domain. Both Iran and the United States have spent decades developing offensive cyber capabilities. America's cyber command is the most sophisticated in history, but Iran's cyber forces have proven their ability to penetrate industrial control systems. If the U.S. executes its threat to dismantle Iran's electrical grid, Iran could respond with a cyber attack on American civilian infrastructure, the power grid, the financial system, or water treatment plants. This asymmetry is critical. Iran's population is adapted to infrastructure stress, while American society is not. A week without functioning ATMs or power in the U.S. would carry political consequences far different than the same disruption in Tehran. Inside Israel, a parallel information war is being fought. The government has imposed a near-total blackout on damage imagery to protect public morale. While Netanyahu claims success, verified data shows 6,500 buildings damaged and 500 vehicles destroyed. Rumors of AI-generated videos of the Prime Minister spread globally, fueled by the vacuum of information. The doubt itself illustrates the gap between the official narrative and the reality of 65,000 emergency alerts. The IRGC has explicitly stated its goal is not to kill in large numbers, but to make life in Israel unbearable, forcing a population-level demand for the war to end. The unipolar moment appears to be ending not with a decisive victory, but with the world simply walking away. Iran rejected ceasefire proposals because it recognized that American threats no longer produce automatic compliance. Trump's strategy of maximum shock has resulted in maximum isolation. As the UN Security Council prepares to vote on resolutions condemning the blockade and Congress launches investigations into war powers violations, the administration finds itself unable to command the situation. The architecture of American influence in the Middle East has been shattered. The unipolar moment has passed, and a regional power has successfully challenged the world's most advanced military architecture. Where does this end? Unlike previous conflicts, this war has no defined scope. The objective of regime change offers no natural basis for ceasefire talks. Mojtaba Khamenei has made it clear that Iran intends to continue the fight indefinitely. The IRGC's plan is to impose sustained economic pain until the political cost of the war becomes unbearable for the West. They are using the Fatah II and the Strait of Hormuz as levers to turn global financial markets against Washington. The data suggests this strategy is working. Oil prices are climbing, supply chains are fracturing, and the global economy is teetering on the edge of recession. The Fatah II and the Sejil are signals that the rules of deterrence have changed forever. The assumption that modern air defense can protect populated centers has been proven incorrect in live combat. The assumption that the Strait of Hormuz would always function as a reliable artery has been proven dangerously optimistic. This is no longer just a Middle East story. It is a global crisis that touches every car, every grocery shelf, and every retirement account. The only question left is whether a diplomatic pathway can be found before the economic damage triggers a permanent global realignment. Understanding this crisis clearly is the first step toward demanding a resolution from those who hold the power to end it. The strategic clocks of all major powers are running in opposite directions, and the longer the gap widens, the harder it becomes to define what victory even means. The world is watching, the pressure is building, and the deadline is counting down. It is March 2026, and the world has stopped.